I'm gonna film a video. It's been a while. I gotta say, this was supposed to be just really easy. I need to watch a video while I am recording this. I got a mic, I got dressed up, and then I realized that I couldn't record my voice on the phone because the cord is too short. So I was gonna record my voice through the iPad while I watched the video. Anyways, I can't record audio through the iPad, so we're just gonna have to deal with the short cord. Intro time. My name is Talia, or Maisel Rose on the social medias. You may have heard of me. Probably not. Anyways, I'm back. It's been a while. I don't even remember what the last thing I uploaded was. I think it was like my corset recording video, and that one I just did it real quick, and I don't know. I get really lazy when it comes to editing videos because it just takes a long time, and I just get distracted really easy, and it's hard for me to get motivated to do it. So I'm doing it right now though, so hopefully I'm getting better, and if not, you know, whatever. It's fine if I upload a normal put effort in video once every 2 years. I don't know. I'm gonna just check to make sure my mic is working and it doesn't sound horrendous, so I'll be right back. Okay, the audio is working. Howdy. Audio. Look at me trying to be a little bit more professional. Okay, so it's recently was the Chinese New Year. I don't know when exactly, but because of that, it's like, oh, it's the year of the dragon. I've been thinking about dragons a lot, and so I came up with an idea that has been done many times, specifically Face Off, the makeup show doing it, where you take 2 Zodiacs and mish them together and make a cool fantasy dragon design inspired by those 2 Zodiac animals. You know, if they are an animal. Chinese Zodiacs are, but I decided to incorporate my Western astrology sign and my Chinese sign, and you'll never guess what they are. Hint. I am both Taurus and the Ox. So this one was a really easy start. I just had to draw a cow. I didn't have to mix match 2 animals. I'm doing this off of my memory. I will put all these pictures up, and if I get it wrong, sorry. I am doing this based off my memories. So Taurus is earth. And I learned while researching this very lightly that Chinese signs, depending on the year, you have a different element. So I also wanted to incorporate that. So I've got Taurus, earth, and then Chinese zodiac is ox. And my year, 1997, is fire. So I've got earth, fire, cow, ox, bull to play with. Now, while I was brainstorming and looking for ideas, thinking of ideas, I was sketching some cows, some bulls. I thought, like, hey, what is earth and fire? Clay and sculpting and making pottery and pretty dishes. So that's kind of what I wanted to go for with this. Like, when I think of clay, I think of like this deep reddish toned dirt. And where I'm from Utah originally, there are all these like massive red stone mesas and like the arches and like, what's that canyon called? Brad Canyon? Brynjolf Canyon? Bryce Canyon, there we go. It's full of red rocks and sand and nice clay, and it's like, you know, the indigenous pottery around there is that nice like terracotta orangey brownish. So while I was sketching ideas, I was like thinking of those nature sceneries, so that's where I want to put the dragon, is just in a nice simple background that has a little bit of an arch in the back. And I just thought, you know, that'd be kind of thematic, especially that's like where I'm from, and it's my dragon based on my year and day I was born. So yeah, sketching out ideas. I wanted to do one of those nice like serpenty classic Chinese dragon, and I was like, how do I do like a bull's head? And I just thought, like, what if it just, the front of it was a bull? So it's like a little dragon centaur with his little hooves sticking out. I liked these swirly horns. It kind of made me think of like antelope. They've just got these nice little curly horns. Thought that looked kind of cool. As I was sketching out this idea, I was like, well, maybe I'll incorporate like the Sega lily flowers, since that's like a Utah state flower, and they're really just like dainty and elegant, and they're found in the deserty areas. I ended up scrapping it though because I thought it looked a little bit too busy, and that's not really what I was going for. So I did spend I spent a little bit of time just doodling flowers, which don't get used, but you know, that's still fun. Sega lilies are really pretty. They're just like really simple. They look like upside down bells, and they've got like a nice little pattern on the inside. They're like really colorful right by like the stamen. So now that I've done the sketch of the dragon and I liked it, I start doing the line art. Starting with that good old nose ring. I wanted to give, is it a she or a he? I think it's a girl, even though I said a he earlier. So anyways, I decided to give them some nice curly long eyelashes, and just, you know, like when you go up and pet cow, they have like the most luxurious eyelashes. They're so long. I had fun drawing the fur, you know, just like doing some squiggly lines. Yeah, and I added in those nice like Asian art style clouds with like those nice big swirls and billowy shapes and lines and stuff. I've always been into those clouds. I really love, it's like the Wind Waker clouds, the stylized poofs. So after I finished like the base line art of the dragon, I'm working on the background, and at this point I didn't know I didn't want to do the Sega lilies, so doing that. There's something really fun about drawing just lines for like red rock. If you look at them, there's all sorts of different tones of orangey reds and browns, and they're all like different layers because of like when, you know, like water levels were different, and just like layers of rock, and you can just see them. So I like doing that stylized, just like cartoony lines. So yeah, while I was drawing this, I was taking that pottery idea I had, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to, like, maybe the dragon would be made of pottery. more than that, I wanted to show like the process of it turning into pottery. So throwing out my little idea there, I started with drawing, you know, like that blue willow print pottery, the Chinese porcelain pottery vases with the blue ink, and they're so pretty. And drew out some ideas for that, for the top part of the dragon. And then I want to draw like fire, and I had this idea of like the tail being clay, and then it gets burned and turns into obsidian, and then it continues, and then it turns into pretty pottery. And you know, like clay doesn't necessarily turn into obsidian, but stylistically I thought that would be cool. Start with the pottery half, and looking at obsidian, it's like whack. It's so pretty and just really weird and kind of hard to capture, so I hope I did an alright job. I think I did. I feel like I like how it turned out. It's just one of those shapes where it's all sorts of directions and textures, and lighting is hitting it in all sorts of ways that I kind of just winged it and hoped for the best. So yeah, I'm working on the line art of the plants on the pottery. Some cute little flowers, roses, petals, leaves. I wanted to give it that like life thought where it's like comes from the ground, gets fired, and then gets reborn into some plants to oppose that like death possibility, I guess. It's like, no, it didn't get burned and died. It got burned and it got really pretty. Drew in some pomegranates. Those are my favorite fruit. Forget-me-not flowers, which are such tiny, dainty, cute little flowers. I love them. Some moonflowers, which come out in the night. They're so pretty, such big, billowy petals. And then I go around and just I go around and fill the space with tiny little leaves, but then I decided I didn't like it, so I just deleted it. And drawing these little vines really took me back to my like junior high years when I used to doodle in my school books and just doodle like little twisty twirly vines. And now onto the fire, which is kind of intimidating to draw at first, but I really like this way that I came up with. It's just kind of drawing as if it was hair, twists and turns and ribbons swirling around and then breaking up into little petals that flow off. Occasionally I'm adding little swirlies to go along with the cloud. And now onto the obsidian. I just think it's funny how I did the whole line art for the entire dragon after doing like 2 or 3 sketches, and then I sketched over that, and now I'm doing line art again, and so that first line art almost doesn't matter. I put blue where I was planning on putting highlights and orangey reds where shadows might be. And I just kind of like, you know, just had a lot of fun with it and didn't really care that much if it made much sense, just since the obsidian is so textured and all over the place. So small adjustments here. Oh yeah, and then now I'm doing the clay for the tail. So for this, I wanted it to just really look like some nice raw clay that you're working with, and I wanted to put like some finger grooves in, like you're really getting there and like shoving the clay around. So it's like dryish, it's scraped, it's cracked, it's peeled away, it's smooth in some parts. Just give it that nice like I'm being sculpted feeling. Spent a lot of time just, you know, cleaning up that line art because I did so many different versions and fixing anything that might have overlapped. Now I'm deciding like if I really liked those flowers, and I spend a good little while just moving them around, seeing if I even want them at all. I didn't. I kind of had a hard time with the background, honestly. Got this nice gradient sunset going, and like the sun is a little, just a yellow ball. But I really wasn't sure on the colors, and it took me I was kind of questioning it the entire time. So I figured I'd just leave it for later. And now I'm going and just selecting the entire dragon and like cutting out all the pieces between the hairs and whatever, and just so I can have it on like a clipping group to make it easier to paint over. So I do like the big dragon base, and then I made like a clay layer, a fire layer, an obsidian layer, and a porcelain layer. And I think also I separated a fur layer as well. Spent a lot of time just cleaning up those little dots and things that the cell brush may have not picked up, so make sure everything looks all nice and just makes it easier for later. Once you start painting over with a clipping layer, it's like you don't have to worry about any specks that aren't showing. Yeah, here comes the fur layer. Just giving it a nice vibrant base layer so I can see it. And yeah, there's me futzing with the background colors again. All right, here come the reference pictures. Found a picture on Google, just like a nice block of brown clay, obsidian, and the blue and white porcelain. And I color adjusted the images a touch with the art program so that fit what I wanted it to look like a little bit better. And then I just color picked like a swatch to work from, and I left them up so I could use them as reference. Oh, and I had just watched the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen, and what is this? Well, you guys get a little snippet of something else I'm working on here, huh? What the heck? Okay, anyways, until we get back to the dragon. Freak, I swear I did this on a different recording session. That's fine. I just finished Jujutsu Kaisen at the time of drawing this, and no spoilers. It's really good and it's intense, and I really liked it. And that's all I will say. There's some fire in it animated, and it was so pretty, and it was so stylized and unique, and like there were different characters or different things that had fire, and this one in particular, it was like unique from that, so I thought that was cool that it had its own like unique style when there was lots of fire in the show already. So I wanted to use the colors of that as inspiration because it was just like nice and blocky. I felt like that would be easier to draw. So I got that up for reference, and now I'm working on selecting all of the like porcelain tattoo bits. Getting those all separated so that they can be on their own layer. I go onto my outline layer and do like a fill, like a select fill, and then I adjust and I fill it with a color on its own layer underneath the outline so that I don't have to just sit there and trace the outline that I already traced. And this is a little bit of a shortcut, just tiny bit. Some things with like the super small things I didn't bother selecting on the outline layer though, because it would have been a little bit too small for my cell brush to even like register it. So now I'm coloring the porcelain tattoo, starting with the dark on the white skin fur, and just kind of like doing a base like dark navy, and then doing like a monotone highlights and shadows with the different blue color swatches that I got earlier. And I didn't like spend too much time on this. I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I didn't want to make it too detailed. So I just kind of like slapped on some highlights basically, just base highlights where they would be. Didn't think too much about it. Then I did a nice luminosity shine layer, did some highlights. The fur, kind of airbrushing like where shadows are, and then doing like little like slashes where there's some highlights, and then like a line of light airbrushing where the super highlights would be. Oh my goodness, we're already on the fire. Yeah, so I just slapped on some shapes, kind of followed the line art that I did already with the orange and the reds and the yellows. And then I wanted to add some of that like purple in there as well, because I thought that was a cool, unique way to interpret like blue fire. And then after I slapped in the base shape and direction, I went in and just kind of cleaned it up a touch to make it make a little bit more sense. Kind of blurred some edges a little bit here and there, and yeah, and then it did like a nice just like glow layer on top with some airbrushing. Okay, onto the obsidian. Starting with the sketch layer, I multiplied the sketch layer and just kind of like painted over that, and so I had this kind of warmish purpley to it because it was a multiplied red on top of a grayish blue. Thought that kind of like tied it all together. And gotta add some highlights from the foyer. Just kind of going around and like testing some things. I added some like darker orange to it because it's like sometimes you just do the lightest yellow as a highlight, but sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's just the color. So I just followed my lines, kind of blended everything. Same as the fire, I just kind of like sculpted it with the paint. Just let it come to life as I went. I was really glad that I had left myself such a nice like blueprint to work with the line art and the sketch before, because there was kind of a nice little gap between when I did the line art for this and the coloring onto the clay. The highlights of the clay were kind of like this grayish, more muted, slightly lighter tone, and I just went in and I accentuated the line arts, and same as everything else, just different colors and a different material in mind. With the fur, I like to just do like a base shadow airbrush where like the main shadows are, and then do like a little highlight on the edges that kind of curve up. Now for the background, I had a hard time doing the background. As I said earlier, I like the pink and the yellow, but I wasn't sure if it fit, and I tried some like darker and I like some intense shadows and lighting, and I kind of felt like it was a little distracting, especially since the bowl is so white, and just like that contrast. Like in some ways it could have been good, but more like it didn't fit. If I were to do it with this dark sky, I felt like I would have needed to put like some harsh shadows on the dragon, which I didn't want to do. So I went back to that pink and orange sky and what the beans. Oh, and now I'm coloring the line art, because you gotta do that, unless, you know, black lines are the style you're going for. But for this one, I wanted to color all of the line art individually, you know, put my little stamp signature on there, and there she is. When I was making a post about her on Instagram, I thought maybe her name would be Tara, and that's the end of the video, so now I'm just gonna talk to you. I thought she turned out really cute. Before I drew this, I made a whole list of like family members, their birthdays, and their Western and Chinese zodiacs, and in the intention of doing more. So maybe I'll do that. I don't particularly have any more ideas. That will come in time if I decide to do it. But yeah, I did my family, like my parents, my sisters, and then I did my partner and his family and his siblings. And then my friend who's still back in Utah, asked him what his birthday was, because I don't remember. Sorry, Shannon. So yeah, so we'll see, because there are some good mixtures, and some of the family members actually ended up having the same zodiacs. Like I think my brother-in-law, and then my other brother-in-law, my partner's side brother, my sister's husband. They had like the same year and zodiac, and but was it the same year? We'll see if I get to it. I did draw a couple of ideas for my dragon that maybe I'll use like those poses for something else, because I did have an idea where the dragon would be like all curled up and hugging this big gemstone, or like the sun or something. So I liked that pose a lot, but I did not do it. I guess that's it for this video. I got all tarred up. Makeup. I don't know. You know, I don't get a lot of views on these, but they are kind of fun to make every once in a while, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope my mic works. I hope it's not too crackly. I got it for real cheap. It's a very cheap mic. So hopefully it's not too crackly or sounds like I'm in a whirring warehouse or something. As you may have noticed, I'm in a different room that also is attached to a different house. I've moved states again, moved to a much nicer location, weather-wise and house-wise. Before I lived in a old Victorian home that had been renovated and decorated and changed up by somebody who wasn't a contractor or a house remodeler. He just kind of did it himself with his family. And so there were a lot of problems with that house that we had to fix, and some that we couldn't fix, some that we didn't want to bother fixing because it would be way too expensive for what we wanted to spend on the house. And so we also got freaking wrecked by the winter last year, and we just did not want to spend another winter in that house because it was hard. So we took all 10 of our cats, 10, and we moved somewhere a little bit warmer and closer to the ocean. So I'll be able to go swimming in the ocean and maybe do some cool dress ups or mermaid videos with that. We'll see if I get used to swimming in the ocean enough to take my tail, because I've never done that before. I've only swam in pools and one lake. Yeah, if you liked the video, as always, as everyone says, like it or dislike it if you didn't like it, because, you know, your opinions matter. I would say that I would like to try to make more of these, but, you know, I really don't know. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna stress. I'm just gonna do what I enjoy, and then maybe I'll turn it into a short video like I've done before, or a more in-depth video where I actually do a voiceover like this one. Well, all right, I'm out of here. Thank you. Boo. Yeah. Boo! Hey, cutie boy.